You're using your flat iron all wrong. See, that's why your wave falls out too quickly. Curl is super inconsistent, where it just doesn't look right. No worries though. By the end of this video, you will be a flat iron curl adding master. See, check out this pic. This is Dionna 10 hours after she styled her hair. Now on this side, Dionna used all of the simple steps that you're gonna learn in this video. And on this side, she simply left one out. Now look how much better that wave held when she combined all of these steps. All right, so stick around and make sure that you don't miss anything, but I promise I'm gonna make this really easy for you. First of all, you need to understand that the difference between a flat iron and a curling iron when it comes to adding wave is that flat irons allow you to create a different amount of wave, where curling irons really kind of only have the ability to create one kind of curl or wave, or at least for the most part. See, this is mainly because a curling iron barrel doesn't have the ability to contract or expand in size, so every time you wrap a section of hair around it, you end up with a very similar wave pattern to the last section, whereas a flat iron allows you to create very different amounts of wave or curl depending on how you use it. And that's all stuff that I'm gonna demonstrate here in just a little bit. So if you want a perfect uniform curl throughout every curl on your head, a curling iron is definitely gonna be better suited for you. But if you want your wave to look, I don't know, a little bit more natural and you want a little bit more control over the kind or the amount of wave you get, then a flat iron is definitely gonna be your jam. Okay, we're gonna walk through the steps, and then at the very end, I'm gonna walk you through some very important tips that you need to understand. But first things first, we're gonna assume that you're gonna get out of the shower, and we're gonna also assume that your hair is wet. So towel blot your hair so it's not dripping. And it doesn't matter when you start the drying process, whether you do it before or after you do your makeup. I just want you to start these following steps with damp hair that has an equal amount of dampness from roots to end through your entire head. Step one, you're gonna use the right product the right way. Okay, now I know, I get it, you might not wanna use products. I fully understand. See, this isn't me as a stylist that's trying to sell you something. This is me as a stylist that's worked on literally thousands of heads over 30 years, just sharing what I know works and what doesn't work based simply on how hair works. So what you're gonna do is you're going to apply these products on damp hair, working in them from roots to ends. Then you can comb it through to ensure that you get equal distribution. Now, ideally, these products are gonna consist of a heat protectant, a volume mousse, or a cream that's gonna help hold that wave. I'll make sure that we link the ones that Dionna is using in these videos in the description as well as the pinned comment so that you can find them easily. I'm also gonna add some other ones that we like just in case you want a little bit more options. Step two, you're gonna get your hair dried for the correct kind of volume. Okay, if you want volume on top and less on the sides, you're gonna part your hair off and blow dry the sides down and the top up off of the scalp against the way it's going to fall when it's actually styled. Go ahead and part your hair right here. Take the top section, right? And then pull it off to the side, like part it off to there you go. And blow dry this hair down to get it dry. And you can blow dry it like this. And you're directing the airflow down, and then you're basically laying these roots flat. And you can do that all the way around. When you get to this side, you'll flip the other side over. You do the same thing on this side. You would blow dry that straight down. This is gonna reduce the volume on the sides and help encourage the volume on top. Now, if you want more volume on the sides, a similar amount to what you're getting on top, you're gonna turn your head upside down or forward to get your roots up off the scalp, and you're gonna dry your entire head that way. Step three is that you're gonna comb any tangles out, starting at the bottom and working your way up. Now, any large tangles, you can actually use a little tiny bit of oil on your fingers, work it through the part of the tangle, and then actually untangle that a little bit with your hands before you use the comb to finish getting those tangles out. Step four, you're gonna determine the amount of curl or wave that you want. And then we're gonna show you how to achieve that specific amount of wave. Step five, you're gonna section the hair off, starting on the bottom and working your way up, kind of like building a house, right? The foundation comes before the roof. Now, step six is a bonus, and I would definitely recommend it, but it's not absolutely necessary. But if you want, you could spray the ends with a little bit of heat protectant, then you're gonna quickly go over them with the flat iron just to smooth them out a little bit. Now, since we're not gonna be spending a lot of time smoothing the ends out when we actually add the wave, this little step is gonna add a little bit of extra polish to them, and in my opinion, it really gives the look a little something extra. Step seven, so you're gonna grab a section of hair and you're gonna apply the iron near the roots. You're gonna move that iron through the hair at an even pace based again on how much wave you want. The slower you move the iron, the more curl you're gonna get. The faster, the less curl or wave you're gonna get. You also want to know that the larger the section that you take, the less wave you will get, and the smaller section you take, the more wave or curl you're gonna get, assuming that you move the iron through those sections at the same pace. So the best way to get consistent results is to try to grab as similarly sized sections as you can, and then adjust the speed that you use to determine how much wave you're actually gonna get. Actually, before she gets done finishing her whole head, hold on one second. Okay, I'm gonna interrupt while you're doing this real quick. Do you have any tips for people in terms of like how you learned how to do this and made it easier for you?
Honestly, I just had to practice because the first time I used this, I didn't dig it. So I practiced taking different amounts of hair and practicing like, oh, what happens if I pull it straight out? What happens if I pull it out and down? So I just played with it until I found the curl pattern that I liked.
Exactly. And one key thing there is if you're gonna do that, turn the iron off and just get comfortable with putting it in your hair and working through those motions of how you're gonna do it. Do that first and then start adding the heat. Okay, back to the video. Okay, now I'm gonna share more tips in just a second, but before we get to that, we've got a couple more steps that I wanna show you. Now that you have all the wave in your hair, step 8 is you're gonna tilt your head upside down and you're gonna break up the wave with your hands. Now the more aggressive you get with this, the more texture you're gonna get. Dionna actually gets quite aggressive because she likes a lot of texture in her hair. So if you want a little bit less, then just be a little bit less aggressive. The last step is you're gonna add a finishing spray to help hold the wave and finish the style. The great thing about a finishing spray is it's not only gonna help you get more volume and shape, but it could also, depending on which one you use, potentially give you a little bit of extra shine as well as texture. And it'll help to hold the waves a little bit longer throughout the day. Now, a quick follow-up is, if you remember the photo I showed you at the very beginning of this video, and on this side, she simply left one out. If you wanna know what that step was that she didn't use product on that side of her head. She used products on one side and didn't use them on the other. And you could tell how much of a difference that makes in how well your hair holds the wave or the curl that you spent all that time working on. So again, like I said, I realize that you might not want to be using product, but there is a benefit to it. And unfortunately, not using it, there's just no getting around the extra ability it has to create the look that you want. Let's talk about some quick tips and tricks that you need to know that are gonna help you get the exact kind of curl that you're looking for. Trick number 1 is that when you're moving the iron through your hair, move through the ends just a tiny bit faster to keep them from getting too much curl at the very ends of your hair. We call those corkscrew curls or a little bit of fish hooks at the very end. It'll just end up looking a lot more like a natural wave than overly done. Trick number 2 is you wanna grip the iron with roughly the same amount of pressure that you'd grip a hammer. See, too much squeeze can actually make the iron stick and grab while moving through your hair, resulting in basically an uneven pattern, but also just kind of a not fun scenario or experience. Trick number 3, you can actually alternate the waves towards your face and then the next section away from your face. If you want a little bit more of a textured look with the waves, and you don't want them to look overly symmetrical. However, I would personally still recommend that the waves right at your face at the front hairline actually pull back away from your face and then start those next sections behind that, moving back towards your head, move those in the opposite direction, and then just alternate. You can see on this side where we actually used that technique, and then on this side of Dionna's hair, she did not use that technique. She actually twisted them all in the same direction. It's not a massive difference, but it does add a little bit more texture and just kind of a different curl pattern, so definitely play around with that. Tip number 4 is you gotta use the right iron. First of all, you wanna make sure it's an iron with something like ceramic plates or other plates that aren't just coated with ceramic or whatever they say. If they're cheap and simply ceramic coated, for instance, they're not gonna heat evenly across the plate and the wave won't be as consistent, as well as they can just be more damaging to your hair. Also, if you struggle with getting wave with the flat iron, using one of the rounded back flat irons like we're using here can make that a whole lot easier. I'm gonna go ahead and link a couple irons that I like in the description, as well as the pinned comment. Tip 5 is if you get too much curl in a section, don't stress it. Just run a flat iron through it quickly and it's gonna help relax that curl. Tip number 6, make your hair too big. Overdo it. Get your hair too big. Start with it bigger than you want because what do we all know? Ain't gonna last.
Hair's extra big today.
As much as I would love it to, it just won't. Do it and then allow it to fall into the correct amount of volume so that you actually have volume that lasts like you want it throughout the day. And an hour after you get it done, you're gonna think it's too big and then it's gonna be right and you're gonna be so happy that you made it too big. There you go. That's a big one. I used the big a lot in that. Either way, I hope this all made sense. Now, if you liked this video, make sure you watch this video because well, you're gonna love that and I'll see you over there.